Okay, here we go.
No.
Okay, we're live. Let's go.
Tired.
Keep it. Are we ready? Let's do it. Hey. What? Because that's the side that the
It's okay by me if that's what you want.
Where's the wig?
Hey, kid! What time is it?
Time for Gezintahait Street!
It is time for Gezintahait Street, and the story tonight is a story that was told about that the previous Rebbe told about the Shabbos that blessed the month of Elul in Lubavitch. This is the month of Elul. And the basic body of this story is explaining to us about what goes on in the month of Elul. In Lubavitch, meaning in this big umbrella that we're in, which connects us to God. In a Pesach talk, the previous Rebbe described the spiritual level felt in Lubavitch on the Shabbos which blessed the month of Elul. He said, even though the day was bright and sunny, the atmosphere had changed. One could smell Elul in the air and sense a tshuva spirit in the wind. Tshuva means returning to God, which this is the month before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and it's an opportune time to return to God. And the previous Rebbe said that this kind of spirit was in the wind at that time. Now, our Rebbe asked two questions on this story. He says a Rebbe's words are exact. And not only the words, but even the time of a teaching is appropriate and tailored to the message. And since this talk was given on Pesach, there must be an interconnection between Pesach and Elul. But how can Pesach and Elul share an interconnection? They're two opposite dynamics. Pesach embodies an arousal from above. My beloved is to me. Hashem came and took us out of Egypt. He took us out of the 49 gates of impurity, while Elul, on the other hand, embodies an arousal from below, an arousal from us towards Hashem, where we approach Hashem from a stance of tshuva. I am to my beloved. So Pesach is my beloved is into me. That's an arousal from above. And Elul is arousal from below. I am to my beloved. We open up to Hashem. So there's two opposite dynamics. So why did he talk about Elul in Pesach? The second thing is, what can we learn from the previous Rebbe's description of the spiritual level in Lubavitch on Shabbos that blessed Elul? Our Rebbe answers that achieving Hashem's desire in Elul depends on our service. That's the arousal from below. Nevertheless, a revelation of light from above is needed to allow us to accomplish that service. In Elul, there's a revelation of light from above, and that light is generated from Pesach. It's the revelation of the 13 attributes of mercy which shine in Elul. And he breaks it, our Rebbe breaks it, what the description of the previous Rebbe, into two segments. He said it was a bright sunny day, that's like summertime, but there was a change in the air. It's a time when the seasons are starting to change. The bright sunny day, as noted, represents the arousal from above, which hints to the revelation of the 13 attributes of mercy. It's godliness which is higher the constraints, the ineffable name of Avaya. And the service of Elul, the arousal from below, is encapsulated by the description of change in the air. So the bright sunny day is symbolic of a revelation of godliness that allows us to serve Hashem. And the change in the air is symbolic of the fact that it is now our service that connects us to Hashem. And that change in the air is encompassed by two things. There was the scent of Elul. It smelled like Elul. And it was a bright sunny day. There was a revelation of a higher level of God. And the previous Rebbe actually gave that talk on Pesach to facilitate the flow from above, so that it could be a bright sunny day for us to do our service. And that's what the previous Rebbe was making happen when he gave that talk on Pesach about the month of Elul. And on that Shabbos, all aspects of Elul are drawn down, including the 13 attributes of mercy. Have mercy.
Have mercy.
And what was described, there was a stirring of a tshuva wind. Air is internalized through every breath that we take. The air that was breathed, that we breathe now in Elul, contained the smell of Elul and was moved by a tshuva wind. And these spiritual benefits are available to everyone, to you and to me, whoever partakes the environment of Elul. They're all connected, not connected to hard work. They're available and can be internalized by every soul in Greater Lubavitch. Everyone that wants to connect with Hashem in the month of Elul by returning to Him. Through every breath that we take. And the detail of the smell indicates that through tshuva, we're worthy of the revelations of Mashiach, about whom it says he will judge with the smell of his nose. The wind indicates the essence of tshuva, which is the return of the soul to Hashem from where it originated. Take advantage. It's the month of Elul. The king is in the field. Hashem is here. He's sitting with us. Everybody can come to him and ask for what they want. And he greets everyone with a smiling face and a happy face. Take advantage of it. The king is now available. He's not in his palace with a whole bunch of guards around him. It's not a formal time. It's very informal. And everybody has the ability to connect from Hashem and bring out from Hashem all the blessings that we need for the new year. Are we going to have a nigun now?
Yeah, first I'd like to say hello to Omek Kadison and Leib Barnett and Abba Steinhauser and Matthew Green and Jacqueline Tenger and Erika and Angelica and Luigi and Caroline and Feivel Feinhandler and Samuel Benitez and Eric Ben Yosef and Foyel Salazar and Rabbi Ur and Amis Khan and Ira Hakei and Katz and our dear friend Ori Heinen, if you're watching, hello, and Danny, our good friend Danny and Rodrigo Machado and Deborah Cohen and Aaron Yisrael and Myra Emdur and Matthew George Hall Levin and whoever else drop us a note, we'll try to see it and say hello. But thanks all for joining us. And now for our niggin, what do we got, Lee?
He wants to do Rakamana.
after having explained the week before the levels of Chachma, Bina, and Das, we spoke about the depth, the width, and the length of Chachma, Bina, and Das. And I think we got up to the length and the width, and the depth, width, and length of Chachma. So now Gimel Aleph is going to go over it for us.
Okie dokie. So now, my dear friends, my holy brothers and sisters, we need to understand how each of the three levels, Chachma, Bina, and Das, has three dimensions. So Chachma is the flash, how the flash comes in. Bina is how it expands into explanations. And Das is the focus. So each one of them, these three have in itself three dimensions. It has a depth, which is a keser, a crown, a width, which is Chachma, and a length, which is Bina. So meaning Chachma has a keser of Chachma, a depth of Chachma, a Chachma of Chachma, a width of Chachma, and a Bina, or length of Chachma. And so too, Bina and Das are the same three things. Now, the depth has nothing of its own at all.
First, we're going to explain what the depth is.
Yeah, depth first, yeah. The depth has nothing of its own at all. Its only function is to connect one thing to another, but it is essentially non-existent. For example, a wall whose corner is on a right angle. The two sides of the wall run east and south. Now, any measurement you might make from the corner of the wall is either this much south or this much east. The point which connects them, which is called a corner, cannot be measured, because any point you're going to measure belongs to this wall or that wall. It is only the point which connects the east wall and the south wall. So since it cannot be measured, it does not exist as a separate and tangible, measurable existence. However, it does have some level of existence, as we can see by the fact that it has a name. So it's called a corner. And if it didn't exist at all, it wouldn't be called anything.
It's interesting to me that the word corner sounds like crown.
Yeah, corner. Maybe this is where it comes from.
Could be.
So too, the depth of an intellectual function is a dimensionless point. So now we spoke about a corner, or the part that joins two things together in our physical wall. But now we're going to talk about how this works in the intellect. So the depth of an intellectual function is a dimensionless point called a nothing, ayin, which connects one level to another. Now, just like in our example of the walls, which connected by a corner, which it is that corner point is the nothing which connects the two walls, and without that connection, they would be separate walls. There would be a south wall and an east wall. There would be no meeting point of them without this corner. So the corner here is the metaphor for depth in the intellect, that it represents the point that connects Bina to Chachma, which this is called the depth of Bina. That's what connects the Bina to the Chachma is the depth of the Bina. It's a connecting point, like a corner. Now another example, besides for this corner, is also going to be twilight, which this is a time, is the nothing that connects day and night. Because even though we might know when twilight is, it isn't an actual time. It is not a measurable point of time. So even though it connects the day and the night, it's not day and it's not night. And there's only two things. There's only day and there's night. It's either day or it's night. So this time, and especially in Jewish law, like there's a point when now it's not. Like now it's not yet Shabbos and now it's Shabbos, these kind of things. There's a point where it is day and there is a point at which it is night. And so, for example, mitzvahs that are required to be done at night, once it becomes day, you can't do. And there is a certain point that becomes day, but that is not a measurable point. A more spiritual example of depth is that of a teacher who teaches a concept to a student. The teacher has to manifest a level of nothing. What do we mean by this? He does this by removing his thoughts from his high level of cognition, right? Because he removes the essential light of his own exalted level, because this teacher who's teaching, maybe he's teaching first grade students, and he's really a teacher who can teach doctoral candidates in the chulu, but he has to bring it down. So he descends to the level necessary to communicate the concept to the student. The student, it's not enough that the teacher has to have a nothing to nullify himself to teach the student, but the student must also nullify, because he has to leave his own thoughts and preoccupations that he was occupied with until this point, and he must now nullify them in order to receive the teaching from his Rebbe. And just as there must be a nothing level of the teacher, there must be a nothing of the student, in which he exerts himself to empty his mind of all preconceived ideas in order to receive the teaching from his teacher. Now, in achieving this level of nothing, the student manifests a state of self-nullification to receive the teaching from the teacher. And all those who make their own concerns less and more nullified to the wisdom instead of their own concerns, they widen their own intellect to receive the flow from the teacher. So the better the nothing of the student, the better he's going to be able to receive the flow from the teacher. This self-nullification, the nothing level of the student, in which he empties his teaching from, is called depth. Oimek, yes, yes, bravo, the Oimek. Oimek, yeah. So this is called the depth of the student. Just as the self-nullification of the teacher, in which he distances himself from his own intellectual pursuits in order to teach a student, is called what of the teacher? The depth, the nothing of the teacher. So both the teacher has to nullify himself from his great knowledge to teach, and the student has to stop playing kugelach and go and focus on learning. So the concept of depth on the part of the student is the level called the nothing, the ayin of the student, the act of emptying the mind in order to receive the teaching from the teacher, which this allows for the inner intention of the teacher to be fulfilled, that the student can now receive and digest the teaching. And through the depth, through the oimek, the flow will be absorbed by the student very well. So emptying the mind is called the depth of wisdom, the oimek of chachma, of the student. So it's the oimek of chachma of the Talmud, the depth of wisdom of the student. Right? Because he is the receiver of the teaching, connecting the student to the teaching.
Does omek mean depth, or does it mean the emptying?
It means depth. Depth. Now, ayin is on nothing. It means now, in order to achieve this depth, that's that's what the depth involves for the student, is emptying himself of it's essentially becoming a nothing. So it means you have to empty yourself of all the something.
That's what we call koach ma, right? The power of what?
I think so.
That's what I thought it's on.
That's why, chachma.
Ma means what?
Yeah. So, it means what? Because it's...
So you're empty. What do you have from me?
Right.
Correct. Very good. You see, Bezalel, and you thought he's just a great drummer. Can reden Chasidis Eichet. Bravo. So anyway, the metaphor of the teacher and student, and the two previous metaphors, right, of the wall and twilight, they illustrate the concept of depth in general, and they bring us to understand that's in general depth, what depth always is, and now we can understand the depth of Chachma.
Maybe before we'll have a nigun, it's a massive break there.
Yeah, is that a good place to? Yeah, I guess that makes sense, Bitzalel.
Let's have a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, Bitzalel, that's a good place. Okay.
Especially we have a special basis this week.
Not special. Just new.
My dear friends and holy
The depth of Chachma.
the depth of Chachma.
Rock and roll.
So,
You know.
even though Chachma is the level of the giver, the mashpia, compared to Bina, nevertheless, it is the level of a receiver to what is higher than itself,
The
which
Kochma.
is the masculine. The soul power which produces Chachma is called, what's it called? babe? Yes, indeed, bravo, the Koyach HaMaskil. The Chachma generator, its seat is in the spiritual moisture of the hidden brains. Remember that. If you're looking for the idea generator, it is sitting, you will find it sitting in the spiritual moisture of the hidden brains, which are located.
If they're hidden, how can they be located?
No, never look.
No, they can't be located, they are located.
But you can't access it. It's hidden from you.
And they are located higher than the covering which covers the three brains. Which what's the three brains?
It's
Chachma,
Chachma,
Bina,
Bina, and Da'as.
Chachma, Bina, and
Right.
Das.
The Chachma brain is
There's
the
a membrane
right.
covering those three brains,
Which brain covering the three brains?
and membrane.
A membrane.
Some kind of a skin.
Yeah. There's a right brain, a left brain, and there's a
And a
back
back
brain,
brain.
and then there's a membrane.
There's a final
That's the
membrane.
fourth kind of brain.
There's a
is
membrane and a
membrane.
final membrane.
That's the
Final membrane. Yeah, a membrane.
Is that the closed mem?
Yeah, the closed membrane. The final membrane.
No brain.
So, anyways, the Chachma is the brain is the right brain, the Bina brain is the left brain, and the Das brain is in the back. Right? So the flashing of the idea itself is in the right brain. The expansion of the idea into the explanations of the idea is in the left brain, and the focus is in the back. And these three brains are covered by a membrane, above which is a moisture, and in this moisture is seated the Chachma producer, the Koyach HaMaskil. Now the right brain of those three, the Chachma brain, is the vessel which has the potential to receive the flow of wisdom from this Koyach HaMaskil, from the Chachma generator. The flow of intellect that is generated by the spiritual source which produces Chachma, i.e. by the Koyach HaMaskil, it flashes into the right brain, into the Chachma brain, like a lightning flash.
Wow.
The idea sparks and flashes into the brain, which is the first revelation of the Seichel, of the intellect. It is the Eureka moment. Yeah.
Eureka.
It is the Eureka moment. And the flashing in of the Seichel is symbolized by the Hebrew letter Yud.
Symbol.
Oh, symbolized.
Yeah, symbolized by the, yeah.
The symbol.
And this is the Yud of Chachma. Now, before the idea, right, before the idea happens, right, before the Chachma flashes in to be revealed as a piece of intellect, right, it is still included in the generator, in the Koyach HaMaskil, higher and hidden from the person's conscious apprehension. This level of Seichel, right, this level of intellect, it is still included in the Koyach HaMaskil, is called Pele or Aleph. As opposed to the Yud of Chachma, that is when the idea has now become revealed in the Chachma brain, in the right brain. Now, the flow of Seichel corresponds to our example of a teacher and a student. Because in order to accomplish the production of the flash of revealed Chachma, the Koyach HaMaskil, this infinite idea generator, must hold itself back. It has to contract itself from its innate ability to produce any kind of Chachma in order to produce this particular Chachma. Because think about it, you're thinking, how will I fix this paper plate? And then all of a sudden your brain is, beans, spinach, table, cars, things going, coming. Oh, you can't think of an idea like this. So the Koich HaMaskil has to pull itself back and only produce an idea that has to do with what I'm dealing with right now.
Like the teacher takes away his own great intellect in order to teach.
Yeah, to teach this student 1 + 1 = 2 instead of to start to tell him all about calculus.
Yeah.
So similar to our example of the self-nullification of the teacher to teach the student. Since the Koich HaMaskil has the power to produce an infinite variety of Chachma, an infinite amount of ideas, in order to produce a particular Chachma, a particular idea, it must contract itself and limit its ability to generate a myriad Chachma in order to only produce this specific Chachma. So for example, the power of movement, well, the power of movement in my hand, I don't know. But the power of movement in Bezalel's hand has the ability to make an infinite number of moves, front and back, up and down. And in order to make any specific move, that power to make all kinds of moves needs to become limited to make a specific move. Because if you will try to make all the movements in one time with his hand, then it will be problems. And just as the teacher must abnegate, what's mean abnegate, Bezalel again?
Take away.
Limit, take away, remove. Just as the teacher must remove his own level in order to communicate the idea to the student, so too the student also, remember, it has to be the depth of the teacher.
Rabbi Elif, we have a special guest.
And the depth of the teacher. So the student also has to nullify his own level. Why? I will tell you why in a second.
In order
to receive the teaching.
Somebody else would say why.
Right. Similarly, the Chachma brain, like the student, must be clear and empty of its previous orientation, right? Because the Chachma has to clear itself, just like the Koich HaMaskil has to clear itself from giving over all these ideas. The Chachma also has to clear itself of everything else in order to arouse the Koich HaMaskil to produce this particular wisdom to cause a flow into the brain as a flash, right? Just like the student has to focus in order to arouse the teacher to teach him. So the same thing the Chachma have to do for the Koich HaMaskil. So there needs to be a contraction and an emptying of the vessel of the brain, of the heretofore coarse orientation on the part of the right brain, which receives and contains this flash of Chachma. Like, for example, how juice cannot be received in a cup which is already full with water, because there is something in there. So you must first empty the cup and then you can fill it with something else. And so too a brain that is full of a previous idea and understanding cannot receive the new idea. Now, the parallel to this in the supinal godly level is the absolute nullification of Chachma in the world of Atzilus, the highest world, to receive the essence of the infinite light, to receive a revelation from there. So this emptying of the mind to receive wisdom is called, what's it called? Oimek, very good, bravo! It's the depth. It is not an actual wisdom itself yet, which the wisdom itself would be the actual flash of the idea into the mind.
It's in the gender.
But rather it is only the opening of the mind with the self-nullification in order to receive said flash. How about the niggin?
Hey!
Good.
Okay.
There you go. That's the way to start.
Alright, sir.
By the way, you should know that coughing is just tuning up. He hasn't even started yet. Okay. What do we got?
Emusai.
Oh boy. So we see there are two levels. The nullified level of the giver, the mashpia, as well as the nullified level of the receiver, the mekabel. But the main thing between these two is which one?
The nullified one.
Which
Of the receiver.
Of the receiver. Yeah. Okay, you'll get it next time. The student must show up and ask, please give me, which this is called the nothing of the student, the ayin of the mekabel, which means, in the object of the metaphor, this is how Chachma of Atzilus receives the flow of Chachma from the source of the Sapoinal Chachma. So it's how the Chachma, which the Chachma is the first instance of the coming of light into the creation of the world. Just like how the flash of Chachma is the first coming into the body of the power of the soul. So the same thing, this is how the nothing of the Chachma, this is how the Chachma of Atzilus opens itself up to receive from the infinite light of the Holy One, blessed be He, so that there can be a flash into Chachma of Atzilus. Now the nullification of the power of Chachma, which automatically arouses the level of the ayin of the mashpia, then meaning
Rebbe,
that,
what?
Yeah.
What do you have for me?
Yeah, what do you have for me? Please give me. The nullification of the teacher in our metaphor. Now, in the object of our metaphor, it is how Chachma of Atzilus arouses the hidden Chachma of the Or Ein Sof, of the light of the Infinite One, to produce this Yud of Chachma, to produce a revealed Chachma. And this nullification of the Koyach of Chachma, of the power of Chachma, is called the depth of
Chachma.
Chachma. Very good, bravo! Bravo, you want a jelly bean?
I knew all along.
I knew.
And it's not
Yeah.
an actual Chachma. There is no actual
Yeah, but
Chachma.
there is no actual Chachma, just like we said, the depth does not actually exist. The depth corner is not a wall. And this nullification is not a Chachma, but it is merely an emptying in order to receive the flash of the actual Chachma. Like we said before, that every depth is not a measurable existence, but only a connector that connects one level to another level. So too in our case, the depth of Chachma is only the connection. It's not an actual Chachma. It is rather only the connection which allows the Chachma brain to receive this Chachma, to receive the intellect from the Koyach HaMasul, from the generator of Chachma. Because this is why, like Mordechai said before, Chachma is Keach Ma.
Koyach ma. The power of what?
Yes, exactly.
You tell me what. My mind is open.
And we'll understand it better through a further explanation. We will now use another explanation, using a metaphor of a spring of water
Oh,
in the
yeah.
ground.
Oh, yeah.
The spring of Chachma.
Yep.
A spring of water has two levels. One is when it percolates out at the surface of the earth as a revealed spring that we can see. That's the first level. Yeah, percolates out meaning it's revealed on the surface. The second level is where the water is flowing up in the veins of the earth. The hidden spring, which is the inclusion of the spring in its source, which is called the
inclusion of the spring in its source.
depth, the depth,
The depth. The ointment.
the deep,
The
yeah.
Tahom.
Yeah.
The home.
Like an aquifer, the original source of the underground spring, which has its seat deep in the earth and is the source of many springs and many wells. And the underground tunnels which carry the flow of spring water underground until it bubbles out of the earth, these underground tunnels we call the veins. And now, with these veins, whichever one is deeper into the depth of the earth, which is their original depth, the flow up of the spring water to be revealed will be much faster and stronger, and it will be livelier and purer. Like, for example, if you remember, Bezalel brought an example of someone who's drinking through a straw, and if the straw is deep into the soda, the flow will be strong and clear of outside air bubbles. So similarly, the same thing, Chachma has these two levels. It has the part that is revealed, which, like, if you remember when he's read the flash of Chachma, it's called what of Chachma? The Yud of Chachma.
Oh, yeah.
The Yud.
Right, the flash.
So this parallels the metaphor of the spark that flashes in, or the spring, as it bubbles out of the ground.
Yeah, makes good sense.
Then there is the way that this idea is included, right? This idea that becomes revealed in a flash, how it was included in its source, parallel to the underground spring. Like we said at the start of the Seichel is in a level called the hidden source of the spring of Chachma. And how do you do this? You do this through effort, Yegiya.
And what effort is it?
This is the effort of the teacher and the student, no?
The effort of the student to open his mind to be able
Yeah,
to...
it's his depth, the depth of the Talmud, yeah?
Yeah. That's called Yegiya Yagaiti Umatzah.
Yeah, Yagaiti Umatzasi Tamin and Yegiya Chapecha Ki Seitzei. Okay, let me see what we're holding here. We have another
That might be
shul.
it there.
Maybe let's see what's our running time?
Next time, you got about 10 minutes left for now.
Okay, so we have another niggin or whatever.
Next time, we're going to go into the depth, width, and length of Bina, and the depth, width, and length of God.
Yeah, okay. So now, first of all, we would like to say that we have the learning tonight is in the merit of a refuah shalema for Yosef Yitzchak B'tzim Achasya
Amen.
and who else? And Melech. Melech, Hoish, Ben, Shendel, and Hoish Zalman, Ben Deveira, and all the leaders of Shalema, Shtav Shalema. And tonight also a special night, the Yortzeit of our good friend Rafi Espin, and his Shama should have an aliyah all the way back down here in a live body. When they will come up, all those who dwell in the dust will arise and dance in the Toit Beis Hamikdash and be among them. Okay.
Right there in Mythic Blue.
Well, Bezalel,
Just saw the flash of Hoffman.
yeah, I know. The funny thing is, before when he said flash, it flashed at the same time. I feel like the count. Chachma. Okay, and Bezalel, it appears that you're on for the next number. It's the freight, they asking for the freight man in Pippic blues.
The freight mail.
Yeah, this is what the band is asking for.
Who's major?
I can do blues.
Okay. Ogden is China. Freight mirror. That Watermount is singing. My freight mirror. Can I now reloading? Baby's got a new pair of shoes. That's why I'm out here singing. My freight mirror. Now you and me, baby. We both got nothing to lose. Why don't you come and join me? Singing my freight mirror. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, you can sing in Yiddish too. That's why I'm out here singing.
That's why I'm out here singing.
My freight mirror. Now come on, children.
Come on, children.
We're gonna have some fun.
We're gonna have some fun.
You ain't seen nothing
Like the Holy One.
Tell me how long do I have to wait? Can I get Mashiach now?
Or must I
hesitate?
Hey,
Out by the hit it, Lee. Shuffle up the buffalo, baby.
Which song are we doing?
Maurice requested you come on.
He wants to do Rahman a second time.
Oh wait, did we do that one? No, why do the trilogy?
Okay,
Let's do the trilogy.
Which one is
What's
that?
the trilogy? Base of Midnight's Boogie?
Yeah, the three. Lots of יהי רצוי מלפניך, השם Oh, Tati, our king, won't you do a good thing? And please, join with your people, and the angels all sing, oh, glorious King. Won't you please join with your people? They made you a crown, won't you come back down? And please join with your people. Oh, Tati, our king, you know it won't be unless you please join with your